Hello, my name is Gerald Dickens and I am a great-great-grandson of the author Charles Dickens. And it's been my privilege over the years to perform a series of one-man shows based on the life and works of Charles. One of my latest projects has been to record for audiobooks the complete works of Charles Dickens, and I'm working my way through each novel in the order that he wrote them, completely unabridged. Now today we're going to walk around London to visit a few of the settings of some of the books. Nicholas Nickleby, Oliver Twist, and many others. And to let you see some of the sights that inspired Dickens and caused him to write about this wonderful city, the City of London. So here we are in Golden Square on the edge of Soho, and this was an area that Charles Dickens would have known very well. He loved the London theatre scene and he was involved in it, so knew these streets and walked in them often. But this particular square he used as a setting in his third novel, Nicholas Nickleby. Ralph Nickleby, the villain of the piece, lived right here in Golden Square, and this is how he described it. Although a few members of the graver professions live about Golden Square, it is not exactly in anybody's way to or from anywhere. 2 or 3 violins and a wind instrument from the opera band reside within its precincts. Its boarding houses are musical, and the notes of pianos and harps float in the evening time round the head of the mournful statue, the guardian genius of a little wilderness of shrubs in the centre of the square. On a summer's night, windows are thrown open and groups of swarthy moustached men are seen by the passer-by, lounging at the casements and smoking fearfully. Sounds of gruff voices practicing vocal music invade the evening silence, and the fumes of choice tobacco scent the air. There, snuff and cigars and German pipes and flutes and violins and violoncellos divide the supremacy between them. It is the region of song and smoke. Street bands are on their mettle in Golden Square, and itinerant glee singers quaver involuntarily as they raise their voices within its boundaries. And this square formed a central point in London for Nicholas and Smike all through the book. They keep returning here, often to visit their only true friend in the novel, Mr. Newman Noggs, who frequented a certain establishment not too far from here. If you ever want a shelter in London, don't be angry at this. I once thought I never should. They know where I live, at the sign of the Crown in Silver Street, Golden Square. It is at the corner of Silver Street and James Street, with a bar door both ways. You can come at night. Once, nobody was ashamed. Never mind that. It's all over. Excuse errors. I should forget how to wear a whole coat now. I have forgotten all my own ways. My spelling may have gone with them. Newman Noggs. And here is the Crown, Golden Square. You can almost imagine Newman Noggs sitting in the bar drinking, Nicholas stealing in under the cover of darkness to meet with his old friend. Charles Dickens always loved to use places that he knew, capture the atmosphere of London. He himself spent many hours walking in these streets, so he knew exactly what he wanted. And this is a wonderful spot for Newman and Nicholas to live. And indeed, the Old Curiosity Shop, immortalised by Charles Dickens. Well, certainly the Old Curiosity Shop was Charles Dickens' 4th novel, but he wasn't writing about this particular building in this particular street. It just goes a long way to show how much his popularity led to people cashing in on the whole Dickens phenomenon. This was opened as an antique shop many years ago, just to become part of the action, if you like. It's a great novel. It's a novel which explores Dickens's fascination with innocence and youth and childhood. Little Nell, the heroine of the piece, lives here with her grandfather, who is terribly in debt. They are hunted down by Daniel Quilp, the villain of the book, and then together they run away, chased all the way by Quilp. But the soul of the novel rests in the Old curiosity shop. So here on the north bank of the River Thames, I'm standing in the beautiful Victoria Gardens on the embankment. But when Charles Dickens was a child in London, none of this existed. Behind me is the Watergate. That was the bank of the river. Now, just to my right, really on the spot where Charing Cross Station now stands, used to be Warren's blacking factory. Now, Charles Dickens had come to London with his parents, who quickly became involved in terrible debt. Charles's father, John Dickens, was imprisoned at the Marshalsea prison over on the other side of the river in Southwark, and young Charles, as a 12-year-old, was sent to work right here in the blacking factory. It was menial work. He was down in a basement which overhung the Thames. He could see the river through the cracks in the floorboards, and he could see everything floating on the surface of the river that the sewer that is now beneath us hadn't yet had the opportunity to clear. All he did was paint labels, paste labels, which he stuck onto bottles of shoe blacking all day long. He hated it. It was menial, it was demeaning. He couldn't understand how his life had come to this. And he resolved that in the future he would never allow anything like this to happen again. He would always push hard. He would always strive to achieve. So terrible as that time of Charles Dickens's life was, it in fact, you could say, was the making of him. The River Thames flowing through the heart of London. And it was a character that featured in many, many of Dickens's books, often a major, major part of the book. Our mutual friend starts and relies heavily on the river. Pip, in Great Expectations, helping Magwitch escape to foreign shores. Daniel Quilp drowns in the River Thames, and more in every other novel. But in Oliver Twist, Nancy walked across London Bridge right here, and this is how Dickens described the scene. A mist hung over the river, deepening the red glare of the fires that burnt upon the small craft moored off the different wharves, and rendering darker and more indistinct the murky buildings on the banks. The old smoke-stained storehouses on either side rose heavy and dull from the dense mass of roofs and gables, and frowned sternly upon water too black to reflect even their lumbering shapes. The tower of old St. Saviour's Church and the spire of St. Magnus, so long the giant warders of the ancient bridge, were visible in the gloom. But the forest of shipping below bridge and the thickly scattered spires of churches above were nearly all hidden from the sight. Born in the city of Portsmouth, died in the city of Rochester, but really Charles Dickens's hometown was right here, the city of London. He moved here when still quite a young boy and lived a difficult life with his parents. But he loved the energy, the excitement of this city. He loved to walk in the streets, and more than anything else, he loved the theatres. As a young boy, he would sneak in at the stage door and watch the plays and the productions from the wings. He really wanted to be an actor. That was his great ambition. He never wanted to be an author. That almost happened accidentally, much, much later. He took a course of acting lessons from a professional, and eventually he was granted an audition right here at the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. Now, it's generally regarded that if he'd attended that audition, he would have followed a career upon the stage. He would have become an actor. As it happens, he was ill on the morning of the appointment and never made the audition. However, his love of theatre never changed, and he came back here many, many times during his time in London. And he wrote about it. Many of his novels feature wonderful theatrical scenes, none more so than Nicholas Nickleby with the great Crummles Theatre Company, a touring theatrical troupe filled with the theatre characters that he knew so well from his associations with the theatre. I think he would have loved the fact that when the revival of the production Oliver was mounted, it was right back here, right back in the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane, where he had supposed to have his audition all those years before. That would have pleased him.